What's going on YouTube? My name's Eric Young and welcome to another tutorial. Today we're going to be doing a R2D2 flying. So this one right here I actually made 2 or 3 years ago and I did it frame by frame, so getting it exact is just nearly impossible. And then here's the one I was able to do last night. So we're going to try to create this but a little bit better. So we'll go into After Effects and then we're going to create a composition and we'll call this R2D2 flying, and we're going to do 1080p at 60 frames per second. So 1080p at 60 frames per second. We'll make it roughly 7 seconds long. And we're going to do new layer, solid, new knoll object. Go ahead and make it 3D. Name the knoll dolly. Name the solid element 3D. We're also going to add a camera. And we'll start at 35 millimeters. And then parent the camera to the dolly, and you'll see that why later. And then go to element 3D layer and add element. Then go into scene setup, and now we're going to create the scene. So go down to your star pack. And we're going to make this 1000% just so we can move around it a bit easier. And then we're going to add R2D2 rigged, and then we're going to scale him to size. So about 20 to 30% seems about right. That's good enough. And now we'll also rotate the corridor so it's facing the right way. And then we're going to move R2 into his own group. So create a new group folder and move that to group 2. Drag R2 into it. And then what we're going to do is add the thrusters. So how I did this was I just used a bullet and a cylinder. I think it was just a 9mm bullet. And then oriented straight up. Oops. That'd be -90. There we go. And then go into primitives and add a cylinder. Scale that down a lot. And then change the orientation of that to where it's sideways. And now we're going to line it up with the bullet. Then we're going to unlock this scale and expand it out like that. Alright, now we're going to drag these two above R2. Create a new group folder, and we're going to name that one if we can, thruster 1, and then we'll go into our presets, Pro Shaders 2, metal, and then this metal blue paint brush looks pretty good, so drag that on there, and then we're going to put them in the thruster group. So now we have R2 and the thrusters, and we're going to set this one on auxiliary channelmation 9. Now we're going to position it to where it's coming out, get it about where we want it, and now we're going to duplicate this, so press Ctrl D. We're going to call this thruster 2. And then we're going to change the orientation of this one. So select both, move it over here, 90 degrees, select both, move it back into place. Oh, we should have done a 180. There we go. That one about equal, and there it is. Alright, now with the dolly, we can actually move around. So go into element 3D and set this to draft. And now we're actually just going to go ahead and animate before we do anything else. To animate R2D2, you need to use the auxiliary animation channels. So do that, go into the animation channel, no, go into group 2, go into aux channels. We have channel 1 for the head, 2 for the, I don't know, let's find out, for something. Okay, 2 is his feet moving back and forth like that. So we're only going to be using basically 1 and 2. So we'll go ahead and toggle the rotation for the head, and then we'll toggle the rotation for him sliding out. We'll go ahead and set him at like a -15 because R2D2, you know, he doesn't stand straight up unless he's flying. And then channel 9 and channel 10 were the thrusters. Go back into scene setup and set thruster 2 to channel 10. So now channel 9 and channel 10 are thrusters. So if we move this one, it will go in and out. That's what she said. And so target the position on those, and we'll go ahead and put them in 0.25. So this one is going to be -0.25. Alright, now we just need to move R2. Go down to Group Utilities, create Group Knoll. And we'll call this R2D2 position. And let's make sure he's lined up with the ground. So an easy way to do that is we can set this back to preview, which is a little faster render than full render. It looks like he's leveled, but let's just see ever so slightly. Okay, so there he's actually level with the ground. We're going to slide him back in 3D space, and then we can just use the dolly to follow. Hold shift to make it go faster. Back a bit more, and there. We'll start our scene there. Make a keyframe for the position, then hit U to pull up all the auxiliary channels on element 3D. And then we're going to use the dolly to pan back a little. And I kind of want him to take off right up here. So we're going to have him move forward just a bit. Looks like he might be in the ground a little. Yeah, that's fine. So now we're going to keyframe the thrusters so that they come out. So we'll start them here. And then when he stops, we'll set them to 0. And I'm just pressing F9 to make smooth keyframes, and now to make him fly. So now we're going to need to move the camera further back. I'm going to choose a halfway point of where he's going to fly. So like 3 seconds, or maybe 3.5 will be the halfway point. But we want to make this realistic looking takeoff. So we have him there about right after the thrusters come off. He'll go up, and then we're actually also going to keyframe the orientation because we want that to change. He's actually going to rotate forward a little, 45 degrees forward, to make it look like he's flying forward, maybe even 50 degrees forward. And then we're going to keyframe the legs so that when he takes off, the legs go back to normal. Hold on, why is he going underground? I don't know what the problem with his feet not moving right is, so we're just going to go ahead and move forward with the tutorial. So we're going to try to get this rotation right. Doesn't need to take off quite that fast, or at least the thrusters need to come out sooner. Now move the dolly back further, and we'll take him to a stopping point where we want him to fly. So we'll actually Control X that, move him, and then go back and control. Oh, whatever. Go back and change it to 50 again. Which one was it? This one? There we go. And now he flies forward. But let's make him move faster. I want a fast fly. Alright, so we'll have him land right about here. So just move the dolly back some more. And it took him about a half second to take off, so it should take him about a half second to land. Pretty simple. So set the orientation back to 0. Bring R2 down back to Earth, or whatever Star Wars planet he's on. And then the other thing we need to do is change this 15 degree when he takes off, so that his feet go straight. So change that to 0. Go ahead and move forward, and set that back to, well, no, another keyframe of 0. So keyframe it again, and then when he lands, move it back to 15. And now we'll just copy, paste those down here, and then click right control, keyframe assistant, reverse keyframe time, and then this is going to make him go in. And let's just watch this animation, make sure it came out right. Alright, and then we'll just have him move forward again a little bit, just for fun. Alright, now we need to make the camera, so we're going to go ahead and delete the dolly. Then we're going to bring up the camera options, and just go ahead and keyframe the first 3, point of interest, position, and orientation. So point of interest, we're going to need to move the position. I'm going to try something a little bit crazy here. Hopefully this works. So go into utilities, and we're going to click on R2's back. And then we're going to generate a 3D knoll. And then we're going to parent the camera to that 3D knoll. We can at least orbit around him to put the camera where we want it. So yeah, you can create a knoll on a position to be able to move around it to help fix some shots. But we're just going to have to use the camera positions. And then we're going to do an orbit here. So let's actually try doing that 3D position. Click on him, create a 3D knoll, and then we're going to parent it to the camera. Except the camera entirely. Alright, that was a terrible idea. So what I'm doing is just turning the camera to 90 degree orientation so I can try to get a side view of R2 flying. Alright, there we go. And we can actually change this to a 28mm for a slightly wider shot. And then we're going to turn his head while he's flying to look at us. That's this channel right here. Keyframe it. And we'll copy that keyframe so he looks at us for a while. And then when he lands, he'll go back to normal. And then that's pretty much it for the animation and camera work. So now let's go ahead and do some of the render stuff. So let's go into scene setup. Choose an environment. It's going to match the scene. I have backlight, so I use backlight. We'll try that one. But you can always just mess around with your environments. And then we'll go ahead and add a new light, and we'll make it a parallel. Alright, and then we're going to need lights for the thrusters. So how we're going to do this is make point lights. Thruster 1 light, get blue, we'll start at 75%, make it point. And then we're actually going to try something again real quick. So let's go back down to our element layer. And let's create a 3D knoll there. Let's see if we can get the position of the point light there. So what I did is I copy pasted it there. So now it's actually on the thruster. Now if I move it to the left, haha! Now we'll keyframe the position, and then we'll also keyframe the intensity. Hit U. So they aren't going to fully launch till about there. They aren't even going to light up till about there. Set that to 0. And then we just need this light to follow. So pretty easy. Once again, just select the thruster, generate, copy, paste, move to the left. See, it follows along pretty good. Not perfectly. So I'm going to mute my mic, and then we'll just go ahead and speed up through this. I just realized the camera's panning as the thrusters are going away, but that's okay. So then the opacity, we'll go ahead and keyframe here. We're pretty much away by that point. And then we're going to duplicate it and call this thruster 2 light and do the same thing on the left side. So I'm going to mute my mic and we'll speed through this process. So after this point, thruster 2 actually disappears behind R2. So I'm going to try to pull the light. Oh, there we go. There it is. And then so that it dims out with the other one. Set it to 0. There we go. Now we have our R2D2 flying animation. Now you're thinking one thing's missing, and that is the flames. And you were right. And there's actually no real easy way to do the flames. So what you gotta do is create a layer. We'll call this thruster 1 fire and effect and video copilot saber. This is a free plugin, and we're gonna do, I think Firestorm is the one I used. So we're gonna make this blue. And then we'll go into the customize core, and we'll make the end offset, or the end size, really bright, and then the start size really small. And then the start offset here is going to determine it coming in and out. So we'll go ahead and keyframe that start out offset, and then just switch this to screen. And then we're also going to do 3D, and then we're also going to have to go into the material options and turn off accept lights. And then we're going to do that little fun little thing where we created 3D knoll and copy the position and paste it. There we go. So like I said, there's no real easy way to do this, so you just kind of have to keyframe it, which sucks. So I'm going to mute my mic. And then I'm going to speed through this process. One thing you'll want to do is move the anchor to the top of the flame. Makes it a little bit easier to work with. And then position it. Don't worry too much about it being perfect, because motion blur is going to take care of it, but you need to get it as close as you can. And then there's the start offset, so we'll go back to maybe there. Or no, we need to change the offset, my bad. There we go. Keyframe that and change that to 100. Other way around. Change that to 100. There we go. So now I'll mute my mic and just speed through the process. And then quick note, I also keyframe the orientation, that way I can change the fire to make it look like it's actually going backwards. Okay, looks pretty good. He flies, he lands. Now we're just going to duplicate that thruster and put it on the left, and since it disappears right there, we don't have to worry about it after right there. So now we'll just duplicate that layer, go back to the start, delete these insane amounts of keyframes, move it to the left side, or right side now, my bad. Right, left, and animate it going away too. I'm going to mute my mic and speed through this part again. Alright, so now we have the animation and the thrusters. So now all we need to do is add render setting. Before we do that, let's go ahead and add depth. So go to camera settings, go to camera options, and turn depth of field on. And an aperture of anywhere from 10 to 25 is usually pretty good. You can just use a small one like 5 if you want, but the higher the more blur. So we'll try 25. And then in theory, this sometimes works. Set this to full render and set it to focus. And now we can keyframe the focus distance and actually highlight R2D2 to get it just right. So now we can narrow this down to 5 seconds. And now we should be able to set it back to composite. It's seeing really a whole lot of depth of field, so just need a higher aperture. Go with 150. Let's see, about 250. And then we're going to need motion blur. So what we're actually going to do is add a new layer, and it's going to be an adjustment layer. We'll call this blur. We'll add it to the top. And then we'll go into our effects and presets and type in motion blur and use CC force motion blur. And then we're going to use that combined with element 3D's motion blur in the render settings. Go into render settings, turn motion blur. And then go ahead and turn motion blur on for everything in the comp too, because why not? And then from here, it's basically just making the scene look nicer and shit. So I'm going to kind of just speed through this. We'll just go ahead and, you know, make some quick render settings. So ambient occlusion, obviously. Alright, and then I just added in a single light. 50%, good, whatever. And then we'll go ahead and add another adjustment layer, and we'll call this color correction. And I use magic bullet looks, but if you don't have magic bullet looks, you're just gonna have to use curves and whatever else you can use. So I'm gonna get a frame where he's flying. And on the last one I did crime scene, but let's do classic movie star on this one. And then we're going to edit a little. Remove that. We'll keep the vignette. Try adding Mojo. Mojo's always just a little bit too blue. Yeah, I think I like that better. And then I like to add a little bit of chromatic abrasion on 3D renderings. Just a little. Also give it a tiny pop. And there we go. And if you want to get R2D2 sound effects, just go to YouTube. And then, like, you see there's tons. Like, just type in, you know, R2D2 sound effects. R2D2 all sound effects free Star Wars. Like, here it is. And then just copy this. Oops. And then just like copy the link. And go to Google. And like do YouTube to MP3. And use any of these shitty websites to convert it to an MP3. or you can just convert it to an MP4 and then use something like Format Factory to convert it to an MP3. However you want to do it. But yeah, you see you can just get all the sounds for R2D2 online. But yeah, that concludes this tutorial, guys. I'm going to render this out, and I'll edit this when I get a chance. Hey guys, sorry, one more quick trick. So duplicate element 3D, and then go down to output and switch it to spec, and now go into your settings and switch it to screen, and watch what it does to the lights on him right here. Boom, brighter. That's all. Thanks for watching this video, guys. If you liked it, hit the like button. If you disliked it, hit the dislike button. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any more future videos.